Welcome back to Vegucation. We are so excited to share this episode of Eat This, Not That. So we're going to start with breakfast, right? I'm sure if you grew up in a household that had traditional breakfast, your eggs, your bacon, maybe some toast, pancakes, waffles, and you go plant-based and you're like,
what am I just going to eat? Oatmeal?
Even cereal had milk, right?
Yep.
Some people make oatmeal with milk.
Yep.
I just don't know what to eat, Brittany. Tell me.
Eggs are made with milk too. So we can take each of those traditional breakfast items and we can give you a way to make them plant-based and just as yummy.
Can we talk about the eggs are made with milk too?
Well, so some people in some households, they put milk in their scrambled eggs.
Now I understand.
Yes.
I was hoping that you did not think the eggs were made with milk.
Like straight from the chicken? No, I know. You got to add the milk.
Okay.
Make them fluffy.
I was very confused.
I'm glad.
Carry on.
I'm glad we corrected that for you.
Carry on.
So if you come from a household like mine where like a perfect Sunday morning breakfast is scrambled eggs with bacon and toast and maybe a pancake or a waffle, I struggled to figure out how to recreate that and make it plant-based, but I figured it out. So in place of scrambled eggs, I like to do a tofu scramble. My husband loves it. My kids love it. So I basically take a bunch of veggies, onions, peppers, mushrooms, saute them in a pan with some garlic and some cumin and some turmeric. And I use a little bit of amino acid for
salt.
For salt, okay. I didn't even know what it was for. I just knew it needed it. So I mix that up in the pan, and then I add my tofu, and then I add nutritional yeast to give it like a little bit of a cheesy flavor, because if you like, some people like scrambled eggs with cheese. So I add in a little bit of nutritional yeast, a little bit of mustard, and I feel like there's an element that I'm missing. Did I say turmeric?
Yes.
So all of those things kind of give it like the yellow coloring. Mix all of that up, and then when it's like nice and piping hot, I throw in a little bit of spinach, mix that up, and then boom, that's my scrambled eggs, aka my tofu scramble.
Let me ask you this: do you add pepper?
I don't add pepper. I add red pepper flakes.
Okay.
For mine.
So for turmeric, though, in order to activate that enzyme, you always want to be using a little bit of black pepper with that.
Interesting. Black pepper, not white pepper.
Correct. Black pepper.
Okay, because I'm in like a white pepper stage of my life. I don't know why. I just use it.
Just get a little bit of black pepper.
Fancy.
Just sprinkle it on there.
Okay, so black pepper activates turmeric.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
So the other thing that we want to talk about is a lot of people struggle with tofu because it's wet, right? Super wet. Do you ever have a hard time cooking the water out of it?
I do. So a lot of times I will, when I open it, I drain the water out first.
Right.
And then I try to press it. But I actually don't mind the water a little bit.
Okay.
Because I feel like it over time, like as you cook it, it tends to soak up and it evaporates. Does that happen with yours?
Yeah. So actually I'm going to give you a little hack, which can save your life a little bit. So if you take your, there's high protein tofu, we'll talk about that, and then there's regular tofu.
I think I use regular.
Yeah, so high protein tofu is going to be much less wet, so it's going to be a much thicker,
more firm.
Yes.
Okay.
Cube. I guess is a tofu cube, yeah.
They
that's
do
what
come
we'll
in
call
cubes.
But the other thing that my husband always does is he freezes them. So he freezes all of the tofu when he gets it.
Oh, interesting.
And then when you open it and thaw it, it's going to drain much easier.
Okay.
So it's going to be far less wet. You're not going to really have to strain it very much. You don't have to press it. A lot of people spend an unnecessary amount of time straining their tofu.
So let me ask you this. Because I've never heard of that hack, freezing it and then thawing it, do you thaw it like just in a bowl on a paper towel and just?
Yeah, no, we just leave it right in the package, and then obviously when he opens the package, everything kind of falls out. You can squeeze it a little bit and then put it right in.
Okay, so
it's going to change the texture.
texture.
Yes, it's going to make it a much meatier, thicker texture than it was before.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to give that a try.
I'm so happy to hear that.
So pancakes and waffles.
Yes.
I have to admit, not something that I have mastered. Ooh. So one of my hacks is I just find a place that has plant-based breakfast and I just order it from there.
It's actually really, really easy. So for me, for the egg substitute, and we are going to post a recipe, so definitely use my recipe, which I love, which does include some protein powder.
Okay.
My favorite is going to be from Veg Nutrition.
Okay.
So it's got 25 grams of pea protein per serving, and it's the vanilla ice cream flavor, so it's a really yummy flavor.
Sounds good.
And you guys can use Coach Leia for a discount when you put in your first order for that.
Nice.
Yes. So with pancakes, you always are looking for that egg substitute, right? When you're baking, my favorite egg substitutes, you have flaxseed eggs.
Okay.
That's not going to be my favorite. I would not use that in pancakes. I think it takes longer. I don't think it binds as well. My personal favorite is unsweetened applesauce because it's going to keep the pancakes really, really moist.
Interesting.
And then,
I've heard of it for baking, but I don't think I've heard of applesauce for pancakes.
Definitely.
Okay.
And then the third thing is going to be Aquafaba. So that's when you buy chickpeas in a can. You're going to open the can, and that juice that it sits in is called Aquafaba. You can also use that as an egg replacer.
Interesting. Okay. So my one attempt, that's why I said I haven't mastered it, was I tried to use a banana to make a pancake, and I burnt it.
Well, and it's really, bananas are tough, right? Because their consistency, depending on how ripe they are, they can be really mushy. They can still be on the firmer side. It's going to be tangier. And I think with pancakes, a lot of people do two things wrong. They overmix, number one.
Okay.
And then they don't let them sit. So ideally, after you mix up your mixture, you should let it sit for about 10 minutes before you plop that on the pancake, whatever you're using, a griddle or the pan.
Yeah.
But actually, my favorite way is not to make them on a griddle at all because I have ADD and hate watching things.
Okay.
So I love to bake mine. So I put parchment paper out and I just put them all and I bake them. It takes a little bit longer, but you don't really have to watch them.
Yeah.
And it's a very clean process. And then I just get rid of the parchment paper after and my life is so much better.
I love it.
Yes.
Okay, so lunch hacks. So tuna salad is usually something that people will have for lunch, or maybe like a deli sandwich or a cold cut. How do we take that and make it plant-based?
Super easy swap. I love to just use chickpeas instead.
Okay.
I like soaking my chickpeas rather than using canned, but canned's completely fine if you don't have the time.
If you use canned, rinse them.
Definitely rinse them for sure, and I would always buy organic chickpeas.
Okay.
And then again, you're gonna mash it up like a normal, we usually put ours in the food processor, and depending on if you want to go oil-free,
Okay.
obviously there's recipes for that. And we can include both. We can include an oil-free one and then also one that does include like an avocado oil for the mayonnaise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So deli sandwiches, are there any plant-based meats that you think are okay, even if it's like just on occasion?
Yeah, so if you're not allergic to wheat gluten, I love seitan, and I think that making your own homemade seitan is delicious, and you can slice it up.
Sounds like work.
It definitely is a lot of work. So if you want to just buy some, probably my favorite is Unreal Deli.
Okay, I know that brand.
Yeah, so they're out of, I want to say it's Minnesota, but I could be wrong. But they're also now at Quiznos, so they've got quite a few different plant-based meats. And then the other one is, Tofurkey obviously has some brands. They've got quite a lot of ingredients. The sodium's pretty high, so I don't use that all the time. But again, if you guys are in a pinch and you want a sandwich, like I said, live your life and do the best that you can, because we want you to be happy and this to be sustainable. So are you going to eat it every day? Probably not, but
every once in a while maybe.
For sure.
And then your favorite plant-based breads, because I think that's probably for me, I'm like, there's bread's not vegan? Like, why would it not be vegan?
For sure. So bread, again, we want to look at the ingredient list on it, make sure it's very, very clean. We also want the wheat to be organic, right? Because we know that's sprayed with glyphosate. So my favorite out there right now is Dave's Killer Bread.
Yes.
Yay.
Your favorite is the 5-grain or the power grain?
So I like the seed, which is the yellow package, and it's going to be the full sizes.
I don't know, my friend. I got it wrong.
That's okay. So I call them the red, green, and yellow.
Okay.
So those are the full-size pieces. It's the seed. I don't remember the other two names.
Okay.
But you will know by the packaging, the red, green, and yellow.
Okay.
But the thing to look out for is if you do go off cusp and you buy some of their smaller breads and other things, they do have canola oil, which is not something I would want in a bread I'm going to use daily.
Okay.
So definitely make sure you're always looking at the back of packaging, making sure that company is still in line with your views and where you want to go health-wise.
Okay, awesome. So we've done breakfast, we've done lunch. I think we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to do
Dinner.
yeah, some different dinner recipes. And then this is really exciting for me because I have kids. We're going to talk about how you can hide vegetables in your kids' food and just make it fun and flavorful, and also how you can make it a little bit more fun for them to eat lots of fruits and veggies. So stick with us. We have so much more for you when we come back.